Hello! In this video, I'm going to talk about TalkPal, the good aspects and the hidden bad aspects. I'm a qualified English foreign language teacher and I have a degree in Linguistics and Phonetics, and I've been developing language learning technology for more than 15 years now. And I believe it's really important to hold language learning apps to high standards to make sure that they're genuinely useful for the people that use them. TalkPal is one of the most successful AI language tutors that have appeared in the last few years. It currently has 4.7 stars on the App Store, but after you've heard what I'm going to reveal in this video, I think you'll be confused as to why it gets so many good reviews. But the reason I discovered these negatives was because I was testing it in my native language, which I guess most users won't be doing. First, let's focus on some positives. What's good about TalkPal? It has a nice, clean and organised interface, including some AI-generated images of beautiful people, which are certainly pleasant to look at. They also have a lot of different types of speaking activities, which keeps things interesting. For example, role plays, audio-only call mode, describing a picture, although I did spot this spelling mistake in the word pronunciation. All that means that at first glance, TalkPal looks impressive, but I wanted to test it more thoroughly, specifically the advice that it gives about grammar and pronunciation. When I did that, I discovered that it sometimes gives misleading and inaccurate advice, which most of the users are probably not aware of. I'm going to show you some examples. Firstly, grammar corrections. I tested this with texts written by real English learners that contain lots of typical mistakes. Here you've got the user's original text at the top, and below that, the one corrected by AI. As with AI grammar corrections in any app, the AI occasionally misses mistakes or corrects things that are not wrong. For example, here, it missed that there needs to be it before maybe, and that maybe should be two separate words in this context. Like I said, this will be true in any similar app. I know because I've tested a lot of them, but what I don't like is that TalkPal doesn't explain this to their users. Other similar apps do include warnings about this. For example, the apps Elsa, Often, and even ChatGPT itself. I also felt that in TalkPal, it's very difficult to see what your mistakes were. Your eyes have to skip back and forth between your text and the corrected text to compare them. Other apps, such as Often, make it much clearer. Secondly, TalkPal sent me an email summary of my practice with some advice about which grammar points to focus on improving. And this email contained some complete nonsense that was wildly inaccurate. Look at this. It told me to work on using articles correctly and gave this as an example. Now, articles are the words a and the, so this mistake is not a mistake with articles. It also told me to be mindful of prepositions and gave this as an example mistake. It's a mistake where it told me to use believe instead of think. That has nothing to do with prepositions. And this mistake was one of the unnecessary ones anyway. So here it's just layering bad advice on top of bad advice. I emailed TalkPal to ask them for a response to this, and they said, "The feedback is provided by our AI, and we're actively working on improving its accuracy and reliability. We understand how important it is to trust the tool for language learning, and we're committed to making it better." Great, but maybe in the meantime, be a little more honest and warn your users that the AI might sometimes give bad advice. Also, I asked them that question about 2 months ago, and they're still sending the same types of summary emails that contain the same sort of stuff. And finally, the feedback that TalkPal gives about pronunciation is especially inaccurate and useless. I chose the sentence mode, where you get pronunciation feedback, and said 24 of the phrases I was shown. Sometimes I use my native English voice, and sometimes I pronounce the sentences using common mispronunciations and non-native accent features that I'm used to hearing from my pronunciation students. Of the 24 phrases, it only gave what I would call an accurate assessment of about 6 of them. Just like with the AI grammar corrections, the AI pronunciation feedback sometimes missed incorrect pronunciation and sometimes picked up on things which were pronounced well, even in my very standard native English accent. Here are some examples. In this one, I decided to do a common mispronunciation of stomach.
My stomach has been hurting for 2 days.
It didn't flag stomach, but it did flag bin, which I pronounced bin, not bean, which is the correct and natural pronunciation that a native speaker uses in normal speech. In this one, I'm going to use the wrong sound at the start of the, and I'm going to mispronounce the r sound in experienced.
Tell the doctor all the symptoms you've experienced.
But no, it didn't pick up on any of that. It highlighted the totally natural and correct contraction of you have, you've. So this tool is actually encouraging English learners to pronounce something like you have in a less native and natural way. Here I'm going to use my very standard British accent.
Does this medical practice offer dental services?
It gives me just 89% and has a problem with how I pronounced offer. I wondered if perhaps it only assesses American pronunciation as correct. So I did this one again in American.
Does this medical practice offer dental services?
Sure enough, I got 100% this time. But then later, a sentence came up with the word water, which is one of the words that is pronounced the most differently between British and American. I've even had American humans not understand me when I'm saying water. So I used my British accent here.
Make sure to drink plenty of water.
And guess what? It was fine with it this time. So the whole thing is completely unreliable. I don't know how any English learner could learn anything useful from this about how to improve their pronunciation. And there were so many more examples I could have included here, but I'm going to do a more in-depth video about unreliable automated pronunciation feedback, so you can check that out if you're interested. So despite all this, TalkPal is making a lot of money. According to the website Sensor Tower, which tracks app revenue, it makes $140,000 a month across its iOS and Android apps. So this kind of makes me angry and sad to think that people are paying for TalkPal thinking they're getting reliable and useful language advice, but they're not. It feels like a con, especially the pronunciation feedback. If you're a TalkPal subscriber, I'd love to hear from you in a comment to know how you feel about this. Were you aware it's not that reliable? Or maybe you don't mind because you're just focusing on the features that you know are useful. So what should you use instead? To be honest, I would recommend that you don't fully rely on any app for AI feedback about your grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation. I think you should use these AI language tutors mainly just for conversation practice, to get comfortable thinking quickly and expressing your thoughts. If you want accurate, useful advice about your pronunciation, get that from a qualified teacher. If you want to see your grammar corrected by AI, just focus on the corrections where you understand the mistake and you agree your version was wrong. If there's a mistake you don't understand, question whether it was really a mistake and ask a human to explain it to you. I hope this has been useful. It's all part of my crusade to make sure that people are fully aware of the quality of the language learning apps that they're using. Bye for now.